You mentioned that the government or the Ministry of Health had put aside a stockpile of PPE for the H1N1, and what happened to the point that, I mean, obviously we used that up, and then there was no reserve left. How can you explain that nobody in the government realized that we should rebuild the inventory after the bird flu?
Okay, you can add something if you want, but that's a ministry decision that when the H1N1 happened, they decided to use the reserve that they had and to not reply the reserve. And reserve is not une fin en soi. You know, there is no there are other solutions. They could have agreement with suppliers, or they could have what they just done with a supplier. And actually, there is an agreement with one supplier to supply PPE for the next 10 years. So reserve is a good thing, but not the only thing.
So in your assessment is that we would be better prepared for the next pandemic at this point?
Absolutely. We have to be prepared. And that's something that should have been done in the past.
You mentioned that there was quite a bit of dealings with companies that did not necessarily have the qualifications, and some of them were not necessarily doing things legally. Would you say that the almost $1 billion that Quebec lost in this operation, would you go so far as to say there was fraud, overt fraud, and involved in the PPE purchasing?
Oh, no, not at all. First, it was not our mandate to identify if there were fraud or not, but we haven't been aware of any fraudulent activities. Perhaps we haven't been able to see the agreement that the SHUC did with one supplier, with some suppliers, and the SHUC said that they have lost $15 million, but we cannot say if it is the amount they have lost, and we haven't been able to see the agreement.